And we are live for another edition of Keep Calm and Carry. This is episode 21, and I am super excited to have the awesome guests on this week because it is going to be a little bit more of a political discussion than our normal run-of-the-mill, hey, what kind of gun carry or what kind of gun do you carry type of conversation. So this may kind of fall into the rabbit hole a little bit. So I'm excited to see where it goes. First and foremost, I've been getting a lot of questions here lately as to which type of ammunition do I use, and I use Fort Scott's munitions. They have a brand new 115 grain 9mm solid spun copper projectile that tumbles on impact. So you gentlemen and ladies out there in the chat room, I've already got it out of the way, so you don't have to ask anymore. So, with that being said, fitandfire.com is up and running. You guys know that. I talk about it every single week. It's a great place for deals of the week, great internet finds. If you're interested in any of my AR-15 builds, you can see those there, regardless if that's 5.56 or 308. Got a couple different ones there. Right now, I've got a really awesome deal from Palmetto State Armory on the Taurus G2C. They're selling it for $199. I mean, that's quite a steal, and I bought one. I've got it sitting right over there, out of arm's reach, but I will have a video coming out on that here real soon. Naturally, I'm not able to do a lot of this stuff without the support from my Patreons. I sure do appreciate everything that they've done. I know that we only have a few of them out there, but I do appreciate each and every single one of you that have contributed to the channel, and it is a major, major help. Before I get into everything tonight, I do want to take a second to swing by the chat room and say good evening to all my favorite people out there, including some new people I'm sure we got hanging out with us tonight. So first and foremost, as always, a staple. I'd love to see his face. Izzy, hard tacos are the best long. Thank you so much. Michael, well, we got both Michaels actually in the chats tonight. So Andrew and Andrew Lovelace. So we got two Michaels, two Andrews. That's pretty awesome. Cass, Kevin, M. White, and Logan White. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you guys. If you're in the chat room or you're watching, by all means, throw a hello or a hi, if I could even speak tonight, a hello or a hi or whatever, so I know that you're watching. Also, wouldn't mind a thumbs up button. That really helps out with the analytics. So that would be helpful as well. One of the last things I wanted to touch on real quick, regardless of how you may feel about this individual, I wanted to say goodbye to Senator John McCain. He passed away this weekend. If you didn't know, if you're living underneath a rock, that was it's been kind of a trying time for his family over these last 6 to 8 months, and last 18 months really, and at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about his political leanings, regardless of how you feel about him as a person, I think one of the major takeaways was said today by our former president, Barack Obama, someone that I do not agree with on probably 99% of things that he believes, but he did say one thing that I did really cling to, and the fact that Senator John McCain showed absolute courage in the face of adversity throughout his life, regardless if he was a pilot or being in a Vietnam prison of war camp, having to deal with all of his injuries afterwards, and finally in the last part of his life dealing with the cancer. I think that is a testament to the individual himself, regardless of how you feel about some of the decisions that he made. And yeah, he did a lot of great things for the country, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that he didn't do so well for the country as well. But at the end of the day, he was a veteran. He served honorably, and he was able to stick with his Joes, stick with his comrades while in solitary confinement in Vietnam. He was held in solitary confinement for 2.5 years, and then given the chance to gain his freedom, he chose to stay with his men. So that's very admirable of him. So Senator McCain, Godspeed to you. Valhalla waits, and I hope to see you on the other side one day. So with that being said, let's get into this live chat. I've already mentioned who I've got, but if you guys don't know, tonight we have the Liberty Doll, and she is, I would dare to say, the Second Amendment's answer to Bill Maher. I don't know.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
Throw a big old right hook right out of the bat right
Wow.
there.
I mean, I at least have better hair.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So, and I would probably say better lipstick too. I don't know if he does that. I'm pretty sure he does. But anyway, so again, we have the Liberty Doll on tonight. Madam, please tell us who you are and where can we find you?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I am Liberty Doll. I am, I guess, technically a libertarian YouTuber. I try to alternate between political topics, Second Amendment topics, and sometimes picking on feminism because feminism is stupid. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And pretty much anywhere, if you search Liberty Doll, you'll find me. I don't have all my handles memorized. It's usually the Liberty Doll because someone somewhere stole Liberty Doll before I got there.
Yeah, yes, yes. That's why on Instagram I'm Fit and Fire 78 because someone else has Fit and Fire, and I can't imagine who else has it. So, but yeah, there you go. That's where you can find her. Naturally, in the description after the live chat is done and over with, I'll put a list of all the different social media outlets that you can find the Liberty Doll. So, tell me, what got you into shooting and supporting the Second Amendment? How does your passion pulled you into social media and really pushing awareness for the Second Amendment?
Well, let's see. Okay, how did I first start getting into shooting? Um, that's a really good question. It's been quite a while now, so I always have to stop and think about it, and I probably give a slightly different answer every time someone asks me this question. But basically, in maybe like 2011, 2012, I just started getting more into politics and actually understanding what was going on in the political sphere and what was going on, like how the government works and stuff like that. And also at the same time, I was working a job where, so I am a therapist by day. I'm a therapist, and I was doing in-home therapy, which means I was going into people's homes to provide them mental health services. And I was doing it in the worst areas outside of Boston. I was in the projects, I was in the ghettos, I was dealing with gang members, I was sitting on people's porches with their heroin dealers. And it was pretty dangerous. I was chased out of a few apartments with baseball bats. I very narrowly missed a drive-by shooting. And I was like, you know what? I should probably also have a gun if I'm going to be in these dangerous areas around people that also have guns. So in Massachusetts, it's a very long process. It's a several month process between the fingerprinting, the interview with the chief of police, the background check, all of that. So it was a process. You have to do safety classes. You have to take like actual firearms classes where you have to shoot. There's all the stuff you have to do. But I went through it all, and then I was like, wow, Massachusetts is really not a friendly place for guns. And it started where I was like on my regular personal Facebook and guns this and conservative that, constitution, all that stuff. And people got really mad, like really mad. I lost a lot of Facebook friends. I lost some real life friends. And so I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I should actually start one of these fancy Facebook pages because those were really big at the time. It was before Facebook started throttling everything. And yeah, it just sort of took off from there.
Right on. Now, you did have a video here, let's say about 4 or 5 months ago, where you kind of went through and described a situation where you honestly felt that you needed to start concealed carrying. Do you want to briefly just touch on that real quick, or do you just want to direct them to that video of why you conceal carry?
Was that, oh, the creepy van man
The
videos?
creepy man van. Yep.
Yeah, the creepy van man. Okay, so actually the first video from that was about 3 years ago. Because what happened was I adopted a rescue dog, and he is a very anxious little guy with a lot of energy, and he's a border collie, so he needs exercise. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna walk my dog. And I live in a college town. It's a pretty quiet neighborhood, except for like the drunken college kids next door. But otherwise, it's pretty quiet. And I just, was walking my dog around the neighborhood. And in like end of April, maybe this this van just started following me around the neighborhood while I was walking the dog. And it didn't matter if it was morning, afternoon, night. If I went outside, this van was there. And like it'd be across the street, it would be behind me, whatever. As soon as it got close to me, it would slow down and then speed away. And then one morning, the van was actually outside my house. And I went and I filed a police report. I didn't tell them that I carried. I mean, they know I have my license, but I didn't tell them I was carrying. And then they said to me, it was this lady police officer, and I said, hey, I'm here to file a report about this man that's been following me around the neighborhood. And she was like, oh, you're the girl from blah, blah, blah street. And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, well, you must be the girl from the other street that's reporting this. And I was like,
Wow.
no. So there had already been 2 other police reports about this guy. And the consensus was, well, he hasn't actually done anything yet, so we can't do anything. And they even went so far as to tell me to approach him, which wasn't possible because I actually tried a couple times to like yell at him or something. And every time I would like notice him, he would speed off. So they actually told me to approach this guy in this creepy beat up van to like tell him to leave me alone. And I was like, absolutely not. And so I definitely, after that point, was carrying, even, just leaving my house to go around the block. And the next year after that, oddly enough, it started again around the same time, almost the same day in April, and lasts for like the spring into the summer. Happened 3 years in a row. And I haven't seen him after that. I filed a second police report. I got a plate number. But so it happened 3 years in a row. Last year, I didn't see him, but my street was also under construction for the entire spring and summer. And this year, I have changed up my walking pattern, the path that I take, the times that I go so much that I don't know. But he hasn't been back out in front of my house, so that's good.
Yes, that's good. And actually reminds me of a story, just real quick, of when I proposed to my wife. I took her back to the first place that she said, I love you, which is actually, I know, right? One of the nicest bridges they have in our hometown. And so we get out there to the middle of the bridge, and, I get down on one knee and I ask, and she's like, oh, all that, the stuff that makes you throw up in your mouth a little bit. But as soon as we got done, I stood up and we're kind of hugging and embracing each other. And I just kind of lean around her and look behind her, because there's a major, it's one of the main roads that go east and west in my hometown. And this van, same white van, it may have been the same person, who knows, but pulls up and stops on the bridge right behind us. And I was like, okay, it's time to go. And that was one creepy. Of those. Yeah, it was. It kind of put a little damper on the evening just for a second, but it's still a great memory. It's a funny joke for the two of us. But that was kind of one of the aha moments that what would I have done if someone jumped out? Mm-hmm. But we have a number of people in the chat room that can feel your pain, especially when it comes to Massachusetts, especially from the Semi-Armed Life. Alana is from the Semi-Armed Life podcast. She is a New York native that has moved further south and has regained some of her rights. And then we also have 1776 or Bust in the chat room as well. He is a native of New York, so he is very familiar with some of the anti-gun restrictions that you have to deal with in Massachusetts as well. So do you feel that it's kind of a bit of an irony that Massachusetts was the state to kind of lead independence, with the whole Boston Tea Party and everything, and now all of a sudden you're barely free enough to protect yourself? Do you see that kind of irony a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty ironic.
So tell us, everybody's going to want to know, what exactly do you carry?
Right now, I carry a Glock 42. It is not my ideal, honestly, because it's a 380. I'd rather a 9mm. What I really would like is, I didn't even know that this was a thing that was legal in Massachusetts, but someone had asked me about the Springfield XD series, and I looked into that, and I thought that looked really cool. But I mean, anything that's cool and fancy, it's twice the price here and ridiculously hard to find. So I ended up with the Glock 42 because what I really wanted was a Glock 26, but between the time that I called the shop and got to the shop, it was already gone.
Oh,
so
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Glock 42.
Well, maybe after this live chat, I can also give you some other great ideas, because there's a number of different pistols out there that may suit you well. Just as well.
The problem is Massachusetts has a secret list and then a secret list of what. It's not even a list of what guns are banned. It's a list of what guns are allowed, and there's not a whole lot of stuff on it. So this week I'm working on a video about Smith & Wesson and this whole big hullabaloo that's going on locally about Smith & Wesson. But the thing is there's only like 5 Smith & Wesson guns that are Massachusetts compliant. And they're headquartered in Massachusetts. So there's not really a lot to choose from. Most Glocks, like even the way the list is written, depending who you ask, Glocks are banned or they're not banned. I think 1993. It all depends. Like any pistol, to be illegal in Massachusetts, it has to have an external safety, it has to have a loaded chamber indicator, and it has to pass a drop test. Yes. And the argument is, according to Attorney General Maura Healey, that Glocks do not pass the drop test.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she tried that test herself.
Oh, I wish.
Right? Well, here's an interesting plug. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but the Taurus G2C is a pistol that checks all those blocks, but I don't know if it's on the list or not, but that would be one of them. So,
well, and I see someone in the chat says that you can order guns online and have them sent to your FFL. Not in Massachusetts. Most gun retailers will not ship to Massachusetts because the gun laws are so crazy. And to ship to Massachusetts, you actually have to have a Massachusetts address. The company that you're buying from has to have a Massachusetts address.
Interesting. Huh.
Yep. And then even if you can somehow get it to your FFL, most FFLs won't then transfer it to you, because if you get an illegal gun, it's the FFL that's held responsible for it here.
Mm-hmm. Would you know if Sig Sauers are on the list or not?
The P238 is on the list because that's what I used to carry. Mm-hmm. But it was heavy.
It is heavy, yeah.
And I don't know, the Glock was easier to shoot. And I believe the 9mm, what is it, like the 938 or 928 or something, is also on the list. But there's a few, not a lot.
So 1776, I tell you, he's right on the ball here. He's confirming that Glocks do not fail the drop test, because he's dropping his right now. So
I know.
Oh my goodness! I tell you, some of these characters that we've got in the chat room, they really make my Monday nights go a lot faster. So, do you think? And this is going to be kind of off the script here, but just kind of hit my head here. Do you think that Massachusetts kind of does the same thing that California does when it comes to the list, where manufacturers kind of have to pay to play to be on the list, or is it a little bit more cut and dry than that?
Well, see, the thing is Massachusetts also has, well, so what happens is there are companies that do cut deals with Massachusetts to be like the law enforcement weapon of choice. But then what happens is that Massachusetts also has a separate list of law enforcement only guns.
Okay.
And so there are certain makes and models that only police can have and sheriffs can have and no one else. So I believe right now, it used to be Glock. And obviously, whether a normal citizen can carry a Glock pre or post like Gen 2 or 3 is up for debate. Like, not even the local gun groups can really tell you which it is. So obviously that didn't count. And then right now, I believe the police are carrying the M&P Shield, and that is mass compliant, but there's a citizen version and a law enforcement version.
Correct. Yes. External safety versus non-external safety, I would imagine. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
And probably the magazine too.
Yeah.
Us
So
lonely peons only get, I think, 6+1.
6+1. Yes. Yes. I wonder how many the AG has with her security detail. So that'd be very interesting to find out. So I'm getting trolled here. I know I'm getting trolled, but I'm just going to go ahead and bite on it. Hunts for Food 67 wants to know, is the P320 on the list? And I'm pretty sure it's not, since it failed drop test. So, I mean, but we could spend all night talking about what is and is not on
Right.
the list. My good people of the chat room, there is this thing called Google's. I would have to recommend you checking that out as far as what is and is not on the list. And hopefully a real good friend of the channel here, Arsenal616, I'm pretty sure he could hack into some type of database and find out the secret squirrel list that they've got. I don't know.
Well, hopefully Maura Healey's going to be out soon. Let's hope.
Do you think that's going to be? You think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of people mad at her right now.
yeah.
There's like 20 lawsuits against her, but like, who knows?
Yeah. I think Izzy Long says it right here when he says Marley Healy keeps saying freedom. I don't think that word means what she thinks it means, which is
God, no.
awesome.
No, she does not.
Bride reference.
I follow her on Twitter so I can keep up with everything, and it's really cringy and awful, and sometimes it ruins my day, but I do it anyways.
Well, man, I applaud you, because I stay away from Twitter like the HIV. I stay as far away from it as I possibly can. I do post on there just because there's a little switch on my YouTube videos. I can say, hey, post it on Twitter. I'm like, boop, yep, got it. But yeah, anyway. So,
So I
ahead.
see someone says that Jared over at Guns and Gadgets has a P320. Jared is a law enforcement officer.
Ooh.
So just putting that out there.
Yeah.
So he gets to have cooler stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna take a turn. We were going to talk about Molly Tibbets. And in fact, let's just go ahead and talk about Molly Tibbets real quick. So if you guys don't know, Molly Tibbets is a young lady that was abducted and unfortunately murdered by an illegal immigrant here recently. And as a woman who I'm sure you've talked about it, you're somewhat active, taking your dogs out to walk or whatever the case may be. What was the most eye-opening aspect of that whole situation for you?
Well, with the Molly Tibbetts story,
Yes, ma'am.
honestly, because I'm a therapist, it was actually the point where he was like, "Oh, I don't know why this happened, and I don't remember anything." That is some bullshit.
Mm.
That is a lie if I ever heard one. And I would just be really interested to see if anything comes up with this guy, if he has any sort of mental health background, because like healthy, stable, good people don't just decide, oh, I'm going to follow this jogger around in my SUV and then start running alongside her and then get mad when she calls the cops and like kill her and not remember it and just find her in my trunk. That's not how that works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, I was surprised, like, kind of the audacity that it was like 7:30 at night. So it would have been light out,
Mm-hmm.
and like no one anywhere saw anything. I mean, I believe it was rural Iowa.
Yes. Yes, it was
But
Iowa.
I was just like that really spoke to me as like, okay, this guy is really unhinged if he's going to go so far as to attack someone in daylight. And yeah, I mean, if she had been carrying, even if she had had pepper spray, because I know some people are like, oh, you know, pepper spray for joggers. If she had had anything, she might still be alive.
Yes, indeed. And that's something that really kind of opened my eyes too, is, I grew up in somewhat of a, at least when it comes to Midwest, Great Plains states, I grew up in a big city. And, so I was used to, the possibility of being jumped at any given time. But
Mm-hmm.
now I live kind of away from all of that. Yeah, the area that I live in has a lot of people, and I live near a military installation. But for the most part, I mean, realistically, I could leave the doors unlocked on my house and be just fine. And there's a level of complacency that a lot of people from those areas kind of get into. So,
Definitely.
excuse me one second. I have another special guest that I need to get in here and say goodnight to. So, mhm. All right. Be good. Good night. Okay. Take the dog with you.
Aw.
I know. I'm just a big sucker for that. So sorry about that, guys. But she's got me wrapped around her little finger. So anyway. So with that being said, that's one of the things that really opened my eyes, is that you can be away from larger metropolitan areas and that can still happen, and
Mm-hmm.
reaffirms why I am not only going to continue to carry myself, but also that discussion between my wife and I of what are we going to do about our daughter, and what are we going to do about teaching her how to protect herself too. So,
Right.
yeah. So, all right, let's take a break real quick. Let's go over to the totally staged. Yes, 1776. That was staged. Yes, indeed. Unless you were talking about the boxing match that happened over the weekend. If you guys saw that with what's those two guys' names? I can't think of them. The YouTubers that had a boxing match this weekend.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, Logan Paul. Was
Yes,
that thing?
yes,
That
yep,
is
yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah, that was staged if it was anything. And people were already
Ugh.
calling for refunds before the fight even started.
That makes me so mad that like I work so hard. I put a legitimate week's worth of work into every video that I do, on top of working a full-time job running my own business. And then there are people like Logan Paul with like millions of subscribers. And I'm like,
Yes.
ah,
Yes.
makes me
Yes.
so mad.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, and what does he do? Well, I mean,
He
I can,
screams at the camera. That's all he does.
yes, and has dead bodies and thumbnails, So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so let's get back to the chat room real quick. We had to say goodnight to the Semi-Armed Life. I really do appreciate them swinging by, and they're going to catch the rest of the live chat a little bit later. But I'm sure that Mike and Elena are super busy because they only have a few days left. What is today? The 27th. They have a few days left to get episode 9 up on the air, so they better be getting to going on that. And we've got a few newcomers. We got Yehuda Rimmer. I appreciate him swinging by. Good to see you, the Pew Pew Jew. I love him. He's got a great book. You guys could check out books that he has on Amazon about gun safety, especially for kids. That's really, really super cool. Nico is joining us, the Tivian Show. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you swinging by. And let's see, Super DJ Cool. That is a mouthful right there. That's what she said. So let's see, what else? And You Don't Know Me is in the chat room as well. If you guys have any valid questions for the Liberty Doll, by all means, throw them into the chat room. Don't ask her what weapons are on the list again, because we really don't know. You're going to have to go find that out yourself. So, but if you have any other questions about politics, that is her wheelhouse, and she will jump right on that. So, one of the interesting questions that we had that came up in my last Battle of the Sexes live chat that I did just last week was the idea of the gun industry and how they like to kind of perpetuate the victimhood or victimization mentality. Do you think that that is something that the gun industry kind of exploits, or do you think it's just kind of a byproduct of what they're trying to promote as far as personal safety?
Well, I'm not really sure. I think, well, that's actually a really good question. So I don't particularly think that they perpetuate this idea of victimhood. Not really. I think that sometimes when things are marketed to women, it's like, okay, well, you need this for protection because you could be a victim. But I think that that's realistic. Historically, women had to rely on always having men around to protect them because, I mean, the reality is we're smaller, we're weaker. Like if you put me, this little like 5'3" person, and there's some like 6'2" guy like breaking into the house, I don't stand a chance. But having a gun is like a great equalizer. Anyone can defend themselves if they have a gun, and whether or not your husband is home doesn't matter. You can still be safe. And I think that that's important. I am a huge, huge advocate for personal responsibility and recognizing the potential to be a victim to, you know, anyone else with bad intentions, whether you're a woman or not, I think is really important. It is part of personal responsibility.
Yes, indeed. And that's one of the sentiments that I've been trying to preach for quite some time, is that personal protection is on you. You don't have to be a victim if you don't want to be.
Right.
The very first thing that you should probably do is not put yourself into a situation where you can be a victim. Even if you don't want to carry a firearm or a knife or pepper spray, you don't want to carry any of that stuff because, you know, you wear skinny jeans and you just can't fit that stuff into your pockets or whatever. Nothing wrong with skinny jeans. If you wear skinny jeans, by all means. I can't get away with it. But even though I'm supposed to now that I own a CZ, I digress. Anyway, with that being said, what I'm trying to get at is if you don't put yourself into bad situations, more than likely, you're not going to have to worry about protecting yourself. Not to say that you can not protect yourself in every situation, but yeah. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yehuda says, can you pay attention to the Liberty Doll's background? I don't know what Yehuda's getting at, but is there something going on with your background?
I don't know. It's just a tapestry.
There you go. A tapestry or a tapestry?
Tapestry. I don't know.
Yeah, tomato. It's a. Anyway, all right. So I sent you an article regarding the New York jihadist compound. I'm not sure. Did you get a chance to look through that a little bit?
I did.
You did? Okay. So the main point that I really wanted to touch on was, in this day and age where everybody is super sensitive about school shootings and the possibility of something like that happening, you know, anything from Columbine to Parkland, any type of those situations, naturally schools schools and school districts are going to take any threat very seriously, regardless of how small or large it is. And you got a situation in New Mexico, for those of you that don't know, is that there was a compound that was raided, and what the authorities found was that this family of a certain religious sect was not only somewhat neglecting their children, but also trying to teach them how to carry out school shootings. They couple weird things happened preceding that. The individuals who were went through their bond hearing were released without bond. They basically, it was a cashless bond, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And then the compound was demolished, which in most states, I don't know about New Mexico, but that most states, that's evidence. Now, when they did demolish it, they found the bones of a child, and that's something else that's really weird. But the point that I'm trying to get at is, what is your take? Do you think the authorities in New Mexico did the right thing by allowing this group of individuals cashless bonds if they're allegedly promoting school violence?
Well, so I read the article, and I don't know enough about the situation, but there's so much going on in the political climate that, how do I say this? I mean, we're all familiar with like Waco and Ruby Ridge, right?
Yep.
And so part of me is like, well, okay, like, how much of this is true? How much of this is accurate? What's really going on here? Is this the full story? And then like the fact that they found the bones of a child and he was supposedly killed during a exorcism ritual with the intention of having him resurrect as Jesus. I'm like, okay, well, was this really a cult? I don't know. There's just like a lot of really weird things going on. If they weren't Muslim, would they have been given cashless bonds? I don't know. That's something to think about. I mean, hell, in any other similar situation like this, my God, everyone was dead. They didn't even have a chance to go to court. So I suppose that's different. And is that okay? Well, is it because, they're Muslim in the political climate? Or, are they really stepping up their game with better practices? I really doubt that it's the government stepping up their game with better practices.
Yeah. So this time we don't have the ATF with tanks,
Right.
It really bothers me that, and if I want to be objectionable about this whole thing, cashless bonds, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. According to what I have heard and seen, the defendants had a petition of, I don't know, something like a couple hundred individuals that would vouch for them and say that they would not flee. So that they would be fine being released on bail or bond or whatever that.
I don't know. I just feel like any other like normal citizen would not have gotten that treatment.
Yes.
Like I know, like I am pretty sure the government knows about me and I'm on some list somewhere. If they came to get me and I did not have the money for bond or whatever, they would not pay attention to a petition of a couple hundred signatures saying that it was safe to let me go.
Well, in your case, a lot of it would be your white privilege backfiring on you. So,
yes.
I mean,
yes.
I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but my goodness, I am sick and tired of hearing about that. I didn't,
I have taken every quiz that BuzzFeed has put out to find out if you're privileged, and it always comes back telling me I'm not. So I must not be. Yes.
Very good. Very good. I've not taken any of those quizzes, and I don't expect for me to take any of those quizzes because I didn't choose what color I was born as. So, yeah. I don't know. That's usually how I end that type of argument when something like that comes up. So anyway, so tell me about a little bit more about your channel and what kind of issues have you ran into with YouTube? Or have you been unscathed as it goes as it is so far with all of YouTube's crackdown on specific content, or have you had run-ins? Or tell me about that.
Well, so when the first adpocalypse happened last March, about 50% of my channel was demonetized. And since then, pretty much every time I post a video, it's monetized and then demonetized and then remonetized and then demonetized and then remonetized again, with me never filing a single appeal, which is kind of weird. I had a bout where people went through and flagged some of my content as promoting child endangerment. I did and promoting child abuse. I did a video about the whole like Daddy-O-5 controversy. It was this guy that had a channel where he was pranking his children by yelling at them and screaming at them and swearing at them and beating them up and putting it on YouTube and making money off it. And I did a video about that, and I didn't even monetize it or anything, and somebody flagged it, and I had to do this whole appeal process, and YouTube only gives you like 200 characters to file an appeal with, which is pretty ridiculous. So that happened. There hasn't been anything too huge since then, but now that they had the whole, war on gun channels, we'll call it, there's this strange thing that has happened where now every time I post a video, I instantly lose about 50 subscribers right off the bat.
Really?
And yes, and everything is like really, really slow in getting the views and getting things out there. And people are always complaining that I'm not showing up in their subscription feed. Sometimes I'll post a video and nothing shows up for hours. And it used to be, so I'm almost at 40,000 subscribers. 20,000 ago, I would get like at least 20 or 50 subscribers a day, and I was growing really fast. Now that I'm bigger, my videos are getting more views, but my numbers have been pretty stagnant. And so I'm wondering if there's like an issue with the algorithms. They say, oh, if you post more than once a week, then your channel should be fine. But a couple of weeks ago, I posted videos 2 days in a row, actually, because there was the whole issue with the Daily Shooter, talking about the door-to-door confiscation in California and how, that really wasn't what was happening. And there was no difference. It's still about the same. Yep. Which is really disappointing. So it's kind of been a struggle in that way, because everything that I do with my channel, for me, is for the purpose of education and getting that information out to people. That's really all that I care about. And YouTube is making it very difficult to get that information to people.
Do you feel that YouTube is fast approaching the concept of being a utility? And what I mean by that is, obviously, if you don't know, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google has now become the 21st century's version of a Kleenex, right? So when you ask or you tell someone to look something up, you don't tell them to look something up, you tell them to Google it. So right. In my eyes, I think that Google and YouTube, since they're the number one and number two search engine out that the Americans have anyway, they are starting to verge closer and closer to a utility, which then is governed by the government, which should theoretically open the doors for freedom of speech and, gun content, more gun content. Do you feel the same way or no?
Well, see, my views on this are colored by the fact that I don't believe in government intervention for anything.
Much. Libertarian. That's very libertarian of you.
Yes. So, on the one hand, everyone says that, oh, well, these are not private companies because, their stocks are publicly traded. Okay, fine, but they are still companies that are not run by the government. So in that respect, they are still private companies. They can choose whatever the hell, they can choose to do whatever the hell they want, ban whoever they want, censor whoever they want. Really. I mean, if you get down into the basics of like, private property rights and business and economics, what runs into the issue is the fact that like everybody uses it, and really the fact that they are not transparent with their policies, and their policies are hypocritical in who they are used against. That is my problem. So I did the whole video about the Alex Jones issue and how it's like, well, okay, really, I mean, if they don't want him on their platform, we can't argue with that. But calling it hate speech is the issue for me. They could have gone about it in any other ways. They could have tried to use like libel or slander laws where there's not really any wiggle room, but calling it hate speech and changing the definition of hate speech all the time. But anyways, so my principles as a libertarian says, well, okay, we might have freer speech on these platforms if they were regulated by the government, but I don't believe the government is ever really good at anything positive.
I don't know. The
So,
DMV here is really good.
oh yeah, it's so great. So great. Ugh. So in that regard, I do not want the government in my social media. I mean, they're already kind of behind the scenes anyways, but I don't want them actively in my social media.
Sure, sure. And I agree with you on most parts of that, as especially the libertarianism that is in me. I don't think that I'm 100% libertarian, but I'm getting.
Honestly, even the libertarians call me radical. I got in a fight with a whole table of them at the state convention last year.
Oh,
So,
is that right? did
yeah.
it did it go to fisticuffs? I'm pretty
Not
sure you could
quite,
take some of them
but we
out.
were definitely told to simmer down.
Oh, okay.
I still got
Okay.
asked back this year, but not by the same people.
Okay. Well, good for you. Good for you. Steven Crowder does his Steven Confronts segments, and those
Hmm.
are actually really interesting, especially when people come out and blatantly say that they want a piece of him, and then when he shows up, they're like, "Oh, here's a beer in your face." But I did want to get to a question that I did see. First off, I just want to throw this out here. You don't know me says that you have a great channel, so
Oh,
he's
thank you.
he's
I
thrown
try
that out.
really, really hard.
You do. I can tell that you spend a lot of time in preparing your videos. They're very well thought out. I just kind of shoot from the hip on mine, but yours are actually very well thought out. You've got statistics and a viable thesis and argument. So
I'm really good at research.
I may have to hit you up on some research stuff because I'm maybe looking at getting my master's here pretty soon. So I don't know.
Nice.
Anyway, I digress. So with that being said, I don't know if this is something that you're very familiar with or have any experience with, but one of the questions that came out of the chat room was, what is your what is your opinion rather on personal defense insurance? So like USCCA or some of these other insurance companies that tout that they're going to kind of support you through any type of violent encounter. Do you think that this is kind of a gimmick, or do you think it's something worth having?
Well, I've never used it, so I don't know if it actually works. I actually don't have any, and I probably should. Um, for a while, Massachusetts goes on and off actually with trying to pass laws to require all gun owners to have it, which is interesting. But they want you to have like $1 million policy, which is insane. But no, I haven't bought any yet. I think it's an excellent free market solution. I honestly do. I think that it would be like anything else in a free market system where you are worried about a potential problem, you buy insurance for it.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not necessarily opposed to it either. I'm still needing to do a little bit of research. One of the things that I did learn at um, what am I trying to say here? While I took defensive handgun one from Tactical Response. Are you familiar with James Yeager?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah. If you're not, just swing on by his channel, Tactical Response or James Yeager. I can't remember which one he goes by right now, but um, he's a very interesting character, to say the least, in the 2A world. But anyway, he runs a company called Tactical Response. It's out of Camden, Tennessee, and he is a very big organization that touts handgun firearm training. I took one of his classes, and one of the things that he did in his lecture, he talked about personal defense insurance. He says that personal defense insurance is great, but one thing that they don't do is provide legal assistance. They'll provide the money, but they will not provide the legal assistance or a lawyer. So you should always have a lawyer on retainer. What that means for you may be different than what it means for someone else, but you'll pay a lawyer a couple $100 to say you're on retainer. Anytime I need you, I can call you, and then get your personal defense insurance as well to front the money in the legal battle. So that's my take on it. Still trying to figure that one out. So
I would imagine that's something that varies a lot state to state too, because Massachusetts has this law. I know someone that went through this issue actually, where when they were a kid, they were arrested and given an assault charge for, hitting someone with a slingshot when they were a kid. They were like, I don't know, like they were young. And, the lawyers were like, oh, it'll never affect you. It'll never go on your record. Da, 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 da. And then around, I think, 2008, Massachusetts passed a law where anyone who's been found adjudicated delinquent of a crime, that if they were an adult, would give them up to a year in prison, is not allowed to have a gun license. And interestingly, a lot of cops lost their licenses to carry when this happened. And so they all got lawyers and got everything cleared. But the lowly little peon citizens, you can call GOAL, which is the Gun Owners Action League. You can call COM2A, which is, sort of like this legal defense thing here for Massachusetts gun owners. No one would even touch it if you're just a little citizen. And so this person did eventually get a lawyer. Along the way, that lawyer got disbarred, and he got another lawyer.
Oh,
and
dumpster
he
fire.
got to court, and the judge wouldn't even hear the case, because what you have to do is you have to basically try to get them to reopen the case and then dismiss it. The judge wouldn't even hear it, and the lawyer wasn't even allowed to talk, and they were laughed out of the courthouse. So, I mean, probably anywhere else having a lawyer on retainer would be great, but it's hard to find a firearms lawyer in Massachusetts that's willing to do these things.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I am getting some messages through the chat room that says that USCCA does, in fact, provide a lawyer. I'm not familiar with that from what I'd seen. I hadn't seen that. So if that is correct, I stand corrected. I do appreciate you guys in the chat room keeping me straight. So one question comes from Izzy, I love soft tacos long. He says, have you been to SHOT Show or the NRA annual meeting?
I have not. I don't really get to travel, unfortunately. Yeah, I haven't been. I actually sort of got an offer to go to this year's one. I actually had a TV production company that wanted to have me do some videos for them, and they were like, oh, and we'll even pay for you to go to like SHOT Show and hang out there and da 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 da. But then like the contract was really shady, and they weren't going to pay me, and I didn't have time for that, so I didn't do it. So no SHOT Show.
Yeah. I do know that I have to take like a week of vacation. I only get 2 weeks of vacation. I have to burn one of it to go to SHOT Show. So yeah, I don't know how long that's going to last with household 6. So she may veto next year. I don't know, but Real quick, one of the things I did see in the chat room is Mystery Family said that his comment, it's just kind of a comment, not a question, but his comment is that you really got to know your stuff if you're going to conceal carry. If you're going to protect yourself or your loved ones with a firearm, you really need to know what's going on. You need to know your laws in your state. And I'm kind of embellishing his comment, and he did want to point out that John Lovell from the Warrior Poet Society has some great videos about that. So if you guys haven't seen those, by all means, go back and check some of those videos out, because they are really good to kind of break down what you need to know after you pull the trigger. So yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, back to the SHOT Show NRA meeting. The next one is going to be in Indiana. NRAM is going to be at Indiana, which isn't too far from you. I know that still very tough for how your work schedule is and everything, but
Yes.
if you do get a chance,
I don't get vacation time, so
yeah. I totally understand how that goes. I've had jobs where I've had no vacation, so yeah, totally get that. And but if you ever get a chance to go to one, feel free to give me a holler. I can give you the down and dirty on what you need to see and how to go about it, because it's pretty overwhelming. So
I can imagine. Even just going to, I've been to like a few local gun shows, and I mean, it's not like the gun shows around here are all that big, but even that, it's like you walk in and it's, oh my God, it's like an amusement park.
yeah, I'm sure. I bet you could find a really good blunderbuss at one of those one of those gun shows. I'm sorry, I don't mean to poke fun at you guys, but
it's you know what, those Blackpowder rifles are really the only thing that you don't need to have a license for in Massachusetts is antique firearms.
Interesting. Well, what about? I'm not. I know that you may not be completely schooled up on everything, but what about the more modern inline muzzleloader, black powder type of rifles? Are you familiar with any of those? Because there's a new one on the market that has an integrated silencer.
Yeah. Silencers are a no-go here.
At all.
At all.
Because the one thing that man, Izzy, you gotta keep me straight here. Black powder rifles are not considered a weapon, I guess, or a fire. It's not considered a firearm. So therefore, you can place a silencer on it, because the silencer is technically not illegal at that point because it's integrated into a non-firearm. I don't know. I'd have to check in on that. Oh, and by the way, you can buy it in the mail and have it sent to you directly to your house. No FFL involved. So
I feel like Massachusetts still probably has a rule against that.
Yep. So Izzy says I'm correct in that. So thank you, sir. I knew that you would back me up on that one. So I could be completely wrong. He probably just say I was correct anyway, just to make myself look like an idiot. So anyway, we're quickly approaching 9 o'clock here. We've been on, 10 o'clock for you. We've been on for about an hour. Do you have any questions of me?
You know what? That's a dangerous question to ask me because I'm a therapist. So how do you feel about your mother? No, just kidding.
We just seriously do not have enough time for that. We'll just go ahead and pass that one over.
Well, no, I don't think I have any questions.
Well, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I know that I kind of tossed that one in there as a curveball, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. I know that you're probably not in the coolest room in your house, is what you said off air. So
yeah, I'm not sitting in an ice pack this time. For anyone who watched me on Hake Strange, I did not think of the ice pack until after I got up here this time.
So speaking of ice pack, I got done with my workout tonight. I think I threw too many hooks the wrong way. I got to ice up my shoulder. It's really bothering me. But anyway, I'm sure no one cares about that. But with that being said,
I actually find that interesting, but that's me.
Oh, well, so one of the gyms, not one of the gyms. Yeah, I guess I do go to two different gyms, but one of the gyms that I attend is called 9 Round, and it is a high intensity interval training style workout that is based.
I love it.
Yes, I love it too. my workout tonight, I burned 601 calories in 47 minutes. It's crazy, and it's based on kickboxing and or boxing, right? So each station has something that you're going to do some type of workout, and then you've got about 4 or 5 stations where you're actually punching something or kicking something or something up, something like that. So it's a lot of fun.
See, I don't. It seems like no matter how in shape I get, kickboxing destroys my lats for like 3 days,
Mhm.
and I just can't. I
Yes.
can't get through it.
I'm still sore from the workout I did on Saturday,
Hmm.
and which I work out anywhere between 4 to 5 times a week, and for me to be sore after doing a workout a couple days ago is kind of a testament to the style of workouts that we do. So that and here comes all the trolls in the comment section. Suck it up, you're old. Yeah, I got it, guys. Yeah, I know. Yes, I am getting older in years. You can see the gray in my beard, and I don't bounce as easy anymore. So there you go. So do you said you love hit style workouts? Do you work out regularly? I'll just throw that in there, Herbie.
I do, though I have had I was actually doing some like girly bodybuilding actually for like a year, and I was doing the keto diet with it, and I was really hardcore into everything. And then apparently I have a developmental sort of like defect in my SI joint. So that's where your hips join your spine basically. And I never knew about it. And it just showed up like last June out of nowhere, where suddenly like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't walk and it would hurt. And so I've actually been going to a chiropractor like multiple times a week
A snake
since then.
doctor is going to he give you snake oil too, or I'm
He's
just kidding.
actually he's helped a lot actually.
Yes, they actually do. They do.
But it's like, oh man, it's brutal, and I haven't been able to like keep getting into like a really good routine since then. Because then now I have vertigo right now and all this crap. But I try to lift 2 or 3 times a week, and then I do Zumba Saturday mornings. I get up at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday with like 5 hours of sleep to go crawl to a Zumba class that's half an hour away.
It's
And
good.
then right now, because it's warm out, I do disc golf on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I'm nerdy and really got into disc golf. So it's the course is in the middle of the woods, so you have to hike to each hole. So there's like hiking built in. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to get back to Izzy right here. Tasting. There we go. Tasting. Um, so I completely misspelled that, by the way, but oh well, they'll get the idea. Hit. Izzy was saying that HIT stands for high intensity taco training.
Oh, I also love that.
Yes. I said high intensity taco tasting. So that's another way that you could go about that. But anyway, let's get back on track here. Zumba is actually really good. I've done one class. I'm not ashamed to say it, and it showed me not only how poor my cardio was, but how uncoordinated I am as well. So, anyway.
I have worked my way up to be a front row superstar. I followed the same instructor to like 4 different gyms for 6.5, 7 years.
Yes, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, one of the sales, sales representatives. I think sales reps for a company that imports the Rex Zero. I met at SHOT Show, and she is actually a Zumba teacher on the side. So I thought that was really interesting.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, it's really cool. So really weird some of the side jobs that some of the people in the industry have, but it's fun. It's really fun. So with that being said, like I said, I've already said it once. We're going to say it again. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. Mrs. Liberty Doll. It's Mrs., correct?
It is.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw that out there. But the
It's
Liberty
okay.
Doll, it is nice to have you on the channel. I sure do appreciate taking the time. I know you're extremely busy with your day job and then all the stuff that you got to do to put out some of these awesome videos. Team in the chat room, if you're watching this after the live broadcast, if you have not subscribed to Liberty Doll, you need to. She is a great channel and has a lot of really, really solid information when it comes to supporting the 2A community, any type of, I would say, libertarian conservative style mindset and thoughtfulness when it comes to the political scene, those types of things. Going in and taking down family Daddy 05, that scumbag. Oh man, dude, I just want to. Anyway, that dude has got some serious problems. Anyway, remind everybody, if you would, madam, where can we find you once again?
All right, so YouTube is youtube.com/c/Liberty Doll, I believe.
Okay.
Twitter should be the Liberty Doll. Instagram is probably also the Liberty Doll, and Facebook is the Liberty Doll, because again, someone somewhere is stealing all the plain Liberty Dolls. I'm also over on Minds, but I don't really use it much. I have a Gab that I never go on. But I'm most active actually now on Twitter, because I don't know, it's just the most fun, and Twitter doesn't hide me yet.
Twitter is fun. For me, for you, I'm glad it's fun for you. For me, I would rather vomit myself. That's disgusting to think of that. But to Kevin Ekdahl's question, yes, I will put all links to all of Liberty Doll's social media accounts down in the description below as soon as this gets uploaded or thereabouts. So give it a little bit, and then we'll have it in the description below here soon. So again, madam, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I sure do appreciate it. No, I really appreciate it. So maybe we can have you on again here in the future, and we can kind of rehash some of the things that have been going on in the 2A world or politics, or maybe we can do it right after the election. Ooh.
I'd be down.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. So everybody that's in the chat room, thank you so much for spending your Monday evening. I'm sure you guys would have rather been watching Bachelor in Paradise, but you're here with me, and I sure do appreciate that. Right? So with that keto diet, yeah, I need to get back onto my keto diet. I can tell you that right now. Hunts for food. But anyway, with that being said, thank you again for being with us. I sure do appreciate it. All your support is greatly appreciated as well. And that's going to close it out for tonight. So as usual, keep calm and carry. Good night, y'all. Take care.
Good night.